here, and every day we're sharing science-based psychology in my YouTube channel. And today we will be discussing about burnout, organizational psychology, and psychological safety in organizations using neuroscience, social-focused brief therapy, cognitive behavioral approaches, and acceptance commitment therapy. And first of all, I want to start by discussing about psychological safety. Maybe you are experiencing certain symptoms of burnout. Maybe you feel exhausted, tired, fatigued from time to time, and it can be difficult for you to concentrate, to focus on your efforts do not matter, or that nobody cares about you, and you become cynical about your work. So if you are experiencing these challenges, these are the signs of burnout, and many people are experiencing these challenges from time to time, and it doesn't mean that there is something wrong with you. uh, it can all be treated, and by understanding yourself better, by understanding what are your sources of stress, you can learn to respond to them differently, or you can arrange your environments or conditions that are causing you to experience these symptoms. So, psychological safety is a concept that was first developed by Edmondson and refers to an environment where people feel safe to speak up, to express their emotions, to ask questions, and make mistakes without fear of embarrassment or punishment. And according to research, the environments that are having psychological safety are uh, in this environment, people are being more successful because they are able to express their feelings, their emotions freely, and this can cause to increase their emotions, motivation, and help them to understand their mistakes and to improve them, because the environment would be encouraging. And in simple terms, it's not about being comfortable all the time, but it's about feeling safe to contribute fully. And because in organizations where psychological safety is low, people might hold back ideas, or maybe hesitating to express their concerns, or they avoid difficult situations, conversations, and performance becomes about protection, not contribution. And after a while, this can cause even more burnout, exhaustion, decrease in productivity, or uh, level of work, I mean the quality of work, and therefore this can cause further complications. And environments where the psychological safety is high, people can think more clearly, they can feel calmer, and they can collaborate more openly and recover from mistakes faster. And from performance psychology perspective, this matters deeply, because even the most skilled, high performing individuals cannot consistently access their best thinking in an environment that feels threatening. So the question becomes, what kind of environment allows you best thinking to show up more often? When you, for instance, when you felt the most productive, the most successful, which people, which environments, which strategies, or what mindset helped you to succeed? When there was stress, for instance, but it didn't cause burnout, or you were able to recover faster, to decrease symptoms of burnout, what was different about you? Which qualities, which skills, which problem solving skills did you use to approach to this outcome? Because sustainable performance is not just built internally, it is co-created by the system you are in. And maybe you will notice that some friendships, for instance, or maybe some environments help you to be more productive, to be more creative. For instance, we have a group of people with our friends from the same profession, and meeting from time to time helps me to become more motivated, inspired, and I feel the warm environment, and we're freely sharing our ideas. So remembering about those moments that helped you to perform better, to be more productive, to be able to open up freely, can become a source of inspiration, or you can find certain strategies or resources that you need in order to help yourself and to understand yourself better. And in Harvard Business School, Professor Edmondson introduced the concept of team psychological safety in a landmark 1999 paper. And according to her definition, psychological safety is the shared belief that the team is safe for interpersonal risk taking, especially the belief that one will not be punished or humiliated for speaking up, expressing their ideas, asking questions, or raising certain concerns or mistakes. And psychological safety is a term level construct and shared perception of social consequences of interpersonal risk, not an individual personality trait. So uh, you cannot distinguish whether the environment is psychologically safe or not just basing on one person's opinion, because as we know, our perceptions, feelings, thoughts can differ according to history, like the events that we had in the past. And so considering in general, if for instance a few people thinking in the same way or assessing the whole group can give a more healthier picture of the situation. It's what it's trying to explain. So Edmund's original research found that in high-performing hospital teams, for instance, teams that coach and reported medication errors more frequently were not more successful, and they didn't cause better patient outcomes. And there was no less error, there was more reporting of error, and psychologically safe teams were not performing better because they made fewer mistakes. And they were performing better because their environment made it safe to understand and discuss about the mistakes and learn from the mistakes. And that's what Edmondson showed in her research is something that organizations misunderstand. High-performing teams were not better because they made less mistakes. They were better because they talked about mistakes more, and the environment encouraged them to talk about mistakes and to understand their mistakes and to perform better. So in psychologically safe environment, errors are not hidden, they are shared early, and they become opportunities for learning, not to blame. So performance improved not by eliminating failure or mistakes, but by creating a space where failure can be seen, understood, and corrected quickly. So this is not about absence of mistakes that drives excellence, but it's about ability to respond to them openly. And Google's project Aristotle, that was generated in 2015, studied 180 teams across organizations using extensive quantitative and qualitative methods to understand factors that predicted team effectiveness. And the findings revealed that the number one factor contributing to success of the groups was psychological safety. And it was the single most important variable among 5 team dynamics that identified and was foundational, the basis to the others. And teams in high psychological safety showed more learning behavior, information sharing, better decision quality through access to diverse perspectives and higher innovation outputs, and greater team member well-being and engagement, and fewer critical errors because of better information flow, individual talents, experience levels, and technical skills were significantly less predictive of team performance than presence or absence of psychological safety. So all this shows that this psychological safety is one of most important factors that is helping the groups to succeed, to be productive, to be open, to express their emotions, thoughts, feelings, and to be more productive and successful overall. So what psychological safety is not? It's not trying to be nice or maintaining the comfort zone or avoiding conflict. It means more. It can mean more disagreement, expressing your emotions, your thoughts, your values, sometimes challenging assumptions in a respectful manner, or bringing up the problems and trying to generate solutions. And psychologically unsafe teams In psychologically unsafe teams, there can be disrespect or disagreement, might be political, suppressed in meetings but expressed elsewhere, or self-protective and oriented towards managing social consequences. So psychological safety is not about making everyone comfortable, but making it safe to express their emotions. What I'm talking about psychological safety in organizations, and how we can create more psychological safety. What does it mean, what it doesn't mean, and what are consequences, factors that are contributing to the teams to be productive, successful. If you have any questions related to it, you are welcome to leave your questions here. So what, in your opinion, what are some factors that are increasing productivity and success of the groups? And what can be some strategies that can help to decrease burnout symptoms and to improve groups' well-being? You are also welcome to share your own answers if you want. And Christina Maslach, who is very successful in burnout research, developed foundational Maslach burnout inventory and conducted decades of research on occupational burnout. And her model has found three-dimensional syndrome. The first part of it included emotional exhaustion, feeling depleted emotional resources and unable to give more to oneself psychologically. So for instance, maybe you would notice when a person is experiencing burnout, it can be difficult for them to understand their own emotions or to express love or care towards the others. They might feel cynical about their work. These parts include this aspect. And the second one is depersonalization, cynicism and emotional detachment from one's work and its recipients. And reduced personal accomplishment is describing sense of competence and meaningful achievement, and whatever they are doing might seem as if it's not important. So Maslach's most important contribution beyond definition was identifying 6 organizational mismatches that predict burnout in structural level. And understanding these factors might help to decrease burnout of people who are working in these environments. The first of them is workload. If too much is demanded relative to available capacity, this can be one of factors that might further cause burnout. The second one is control, insufficient autonomy over one's work processes. If everything is being controlled and people cannot contribute much or don't feel as if they are in control of their work, this can be another reason. And the next one is reward, inadequate recognition or compensation relative to contribution. This might also cause burnout symptoms. And community, poor social support or chronic interpersonal conflict, fairness if perceived, inequity in how resources, opportunities, or recognition are distributed, and values working in ways that might be against someone's principles or values, purpose. And Maslach's critically important finding was that most organizational burnout interventions focus exclusively on building individual resilience, teaching stress management, emotional regulation strategies, whereas these organizational factors are staying the same and they are not being changed. Yeah, they are not being changed. So as a result, they still continue to be a factor that might cause burnout. So if you are noticing that in your organization there are certain factors that are causing burnout, you can openly speak up about it with your managers or people with whom you are working, and this might benefit in the long run the success and productivity and overall well-being of the whole team. And instead of asking if you are experiencing burnout symptoms, what's wrong with me, you can shift your attention towards more different questions. Given these conditions, what would make this situation even slightly more sustainable? Or what were some times when there were stressors, but I was able to cope with them well, or to be able to manage my emotions well, or what was different about the environment or people, or about me, my strategies, my routines that helped me to cope better with stress, and which problem solving strategies did I use that worked. Because even in very demanding environments, there are always small moments where things work a little better, and paying attention to those moments might help you to give some cues, uh, what might help your group, what might help your organization or team to collaborate more, to decrease stress levels and to cooperate better. Maybe some certain conversations or meetings helped you to understand each other better, or to work more efficiently, to be more productive, and decrease factors that might be contributing to burnout. Or maybe certain tasks that you were doing felt more meaningful, and maybe you can ask yourself, how can I connect the work that my team is doing towards their meaning, or maybe being more curious about what's important for them, for instance, and helping the people to make connections between their work and between their meaning, or maybe organizing certain hours or meetings where people can better understand each other, meet each other, and to connect with each other or help each other, because contributing to society, helping each other is one of factors, according to research, that decreases burnout symptoms. And feeling connected, feeling as a team is another strategy that might help to collaborate together and be more productive. And which part of your current experience feels the heaviest, maybe? Maybe it's the volume of what's expected of the work, or lack of control over how do you do your work, or feeling that your effort is not fully recognized, or maybe tension, that's why your working doesn't quite align with what matters to you. So understanding what's causing the problem right now can help you to search for solutions or understand yourself better. And you don't need to solve everything immediately, just noticing where, in which field the problem concentrates is already a movement towards solution. And from here, you don't have to fix everything at once. You can start taking the smallest steps towards resolution or improvement or healing. For instance, what would the 5% improvement look like in that problematic area? Or what has helped you to handle slightly better before, and who or what supported you even a little that you haven't fully used yet. And sustainable change doesn't come from forcing or pushing yourself harder, but from adjusting conditions that shape your experience. And even if you cannot fully control the situation, you cannot control all the factors of your environment, there are always there are always possibilities of changing, making slight changes towards certain factors, towards certain parts of environment that in the long run can create a better shift. So maybe it's having conversation with your team about workload or expectations, explaining yourself and providing some solutions, or asking for more clarity or autonomy, or reconnecting your work with what feels meaningful for you. Can be some evidence-based and scientific strategies you can apply to decrease your team's burnout and to be more productive, to be more engaged, connected, and to have more successful work. A research by Hemp in Harvard Business Review have found the concept of presenteeism, being physically present at work while psychologically disengaged, distracted, or impaired. So people who feel exhausted or who are experiencing depression symptoms or burnout, for them it can be difficult to stay present and to be engaged with their work. So therefore, even though insurance companies or the employers think that taking receiving psychological support is very expensive, but when you look from that perspective, when a person is not able to focus, for instance, or fully engage in their work, they can make some errors, and in the long run this might cause even more financial challenges or problems. Therefore, taking care of yourself and being cautious with your well-being is important. And when we consider from cognitive perspective, there can be certain thoughts that are causing you to feel burnout or exhausted, and they don't have to reflect the reality. For instance, oftentimes I'm noticing while listening to people that some certain thoughts that are contributing to their stress, they are realizing while during the conversations that these thoughts do not reflect reality. One category of them can be catastrophizing one when, for instance, somebody is hearing somebody's uh, managers, for instance, feedback, and they create a different meaning from it depending on their past experiences or history, or they just focus on one part of the conversation, or they think that the worst might happen basing on what they have experienced in the past. And examining the evidence of it can be one of the solutions to understand uh, the thoughts that are causing you to feel stressed. For instance, what is the base rate for this catastrophic outcome to happen? What actually happened after previous imperfect performance evaluations? And here this would help the person to realize that not all the thoughts we have are reflecting reality, and sometimes we are catastrophizing or thinking about the worst case scenarios. It's because the way our brains were designed to keep us safe, and these thoughts, they are sometimes just information about what we care about, but we don't have to accept all the thoughts as reality or truth. And examining your thoughts, maybe journaling, maybe sharing it with someone, writing down, can help you to notice these thoughts that do not serve you, and uh, to think about it more deeply, or to think about times when, for instance, you had similar situations but you had different outcome, and to look to your thoughts from more balanced, realistic perspective. And another thing can be all or nothing performance thinking. For instance, if you made some errors, maybe you start to think that the project is over and you cannot contribute to it at all meaningfully, or that you cannot be successful at all after this. Maybe you start to assume yourself a failure. And here we see all or nothing performance thinking, and it shows that, like at that time, maybe we are so much sad or anxious or angry or exhausted that uh, our feelings are very strong, and it seems as if the world is ending and everything is over and nothing will improve, but this doesn't mean that this is the reality. And during those moments when you will notice your thoughts, you can ask yourself, what's the full range of my contributions look like over time? Or maybe you can step back and think about exceptions, for instance, where sometimes when you felt that you were contributing or you succeeded, and this would help you to remind about times when you were successful, and to understand that not all the thoughts we have to be the reality. And fortune telling, career trajectory, or mind reading, for instance, sometimes we are thinking that the certain person thinks that way, or they have certain opinion about this, whereas there is no evidence for that. Maybe the person in front of us is thinking about completely different things. Maybe they have completely different opinion, but we assume as if we know their opinion, as if we know what drives their behavior, and we are fortune telling actually, and then this shapes our behavior, this shapes our reactions. Whereas if we were able to communicate about it, to stay curious and ask about their opinion, maybe this would reveal that actually there is nothing that supports your opinion, and you are reflecting your own opinion and assuming as if the person thinks like that. And for instance, maybe you have some thoughts: if this initiative fails, my professional trajectory is permanently damaged. And is there any evidence for this examination? Or you can ask yourself, how do your comparable situations actually resolve, or what is the typical recovery time? And you can generate or find more healthier perspectives than what your mind is telling you at that moment. And Edmondson's research identified leader behavior as the single strongest driver of team psychological safety. And leaders who model psychological safety do so through specific observable behaviors, like if the leader is able to express their emotions in a respectful manner, or to stay curious about team's needs, to be able to hold conversations about their opinion, and to create a safe space. This was found to create a more productive and more successful environment for other people. And framing situations as learning opportunities, for instance, rather than performance judgments, and explicitly protecting contributors of unpopular and unconventional ideas from social consequences. And teams cannot be told to be psychologically safe. They observe whether interpersonal risk is actually safe by watching what happens to the people who take it. And in this sense, if the leader is able to create this environment and consistently respond with curiosity and with engagement, safety follows. And if the leader responds with defensiveness, blame, or constant punishment, no policy or intervention will override that behavioral signal. And organizational psychology research consistently identifies meaning and contribution as the strongest outcome and intrinsic motivator and the most robust protectors against burnout. So if the teams of a leader are able to connect their work with the meaning that they have, they are experiencing less burnout levels. And Heckman and Oldham's job characteristics model has identified experienced meaningfulness. Subjective sense of one's work that matters is the strongest predictor of intrinsic motivation, job satisfaction, and sustained performance quality. So you can try to rate your current environment that you are in on the dimensions from 0 to 10. If, for instance, you make some mistakes in the team, that it will not help against you, or if I raise problems and difficult issues in the team, what will happen, or people on this team do not reject others of being different, or is it safe to take risks in this team, and are your needs are being met in the team. And depending on the scores that you have, you can find some areas where that need your attention, and then you can try to find some solutions for that, either through communication, speaking with your leader or manager, or your friends, and finding other strategies to resolve these fields that are weaker. And when workplace anxiety increases, before, for instance, a performance review after difficult meeting during high-stakes projects, you can try to write down your thoughts, what's triggering your anxiety, and which feelings you have at that moment, and what's the intensity of your feeling according to cognitive approach, and evidence for these automatic thoughts from your actual professional history, like when you had similar thoughts in the past, what was the result, like what happened after, and evidence against your thoughts from actual professional history. And this would help you to find more balanced view about the situation, and that sometimes to detect certain errors in thinking, or to understand that not everything that we think has to be the reality. And you can also find exceptions, like sometimes when you had maybe these thoughts, and it's quite normal to have different thoughts, they're automatic, and how did you respond to these feelings or thoughts in a manner that helped you to stay focused, to feel less burnout, exhausted, and what was there that helped you to feel connected with your work, to feel less stressed, more focused. And consistent use of these skills helps you to increase your self-assessment, to notice your thoughts, and to find solutions for yourself. Work of Maslow gives us a different way of seeing the problems and challenges, not as a personal weakness, but as a mismatch between you and your environment. So you can also ask some solution-focused questions to understand what's going on and what you need. For instance, where exactly, at which areas do you feel the hardest right now, and where do you feel the most tension between how things are and how do you need them to be? And this doesn't mean that this is a failure, it's just information. That's your system telling you that this is where the support you need. And from solution focused perspective, you don't start by fixing or trying to solve everything, but understanding what would slightly better look like for you in that area. What's already helping even a little that you don't notice and you can do it more, and what, who, or what has made this feeling more manageable before. And not just internal coping strategies, but also structural conversations, asking for clearer priorities, maybe requesting more autonomy, or re- renegotiating some expectations, or understanding the people with whom you are working. And burnout is not just about resilience or better managing your emotions. It's about food he- and here's some questions that you can ask yourself. Uh, at which areas do you already feel aligned with your values and feel connected with the meaning while you are at work? Where something needs to change and where your energy is being drained, or where your energy feels elevated? Asking yourself these questions can help to understand what's actually motivating you, what's actually helping you to connect to your work, and where you can be successful and you can repeat this success more often. And change doesn't start with solving everything, it starts with understanding yourself and moving one piece at a time. And if things were moving in the right direction, you need even slightly, maybe you start to notice small but meaningful shifts. Maybe when you wake up, you would feel more energized, not completely restored, but already not depleted. Or maybe your workday might look more energized, more meaningful, more contained, and there could be moments where you feel more like yourself, more present, less emotionally distant, and more connected to your friends, to your team, on to what you are doing. And what would be the very first sign, even a small one, that things are starting to improve for you, to feel sustainable for you? What would you be doing differently on that day that would tell you that you are moving out of burnout and back towards yourself? And how would others notice that you are slightly improving, healing? So I tried to share certain strategies from different approaches about burnout, what is burnout, what is psychological safety, and how burnout levels can be decreased in teams, and what a person can do if they are experiencing burnout levels, and what they can do in order to support their mental well-being and overall well-being. I think I hope that this session was helpful for you. If you have any further questions, you are welcome to leave your questions in the comments. And if you enjoyed the session, don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications. And you are also welcome to write down the topics that you would like to listen in the next webinars. Take good care of yourself and see you in the next sessions videos again.